Okay. Right. It's very unnerving, you know, coming here to talk about teaching materia medica to people that taught me materia medica. It's like taking Coles to Newcastle, you know. To Poland now, isn't it, really? It's not Newcastle anymore. All I can really sort of give you a quick cartoon sort of sketch of the kind of considerations I have in terms of teaching materia medica and how I do it. A few months ago, I was on the tube in London, and I want to get my cup of coffee, but that's right. I was on the tube, and I'd actually prepared for my materia medica lecture that day, which is, if anybody knows me knows that's pretty unusual. I was doing syphilinum and the syphilitic miasm, and I'd got beautiful photographs of genitalia with ulcerating discharges, necrotic noses, bones. I was really pleased with myself. I got up at 6 o'clock that morning, had a shower, marvellous. Sitting on the tube with the Kilburn Times, which is my local newspaper, doing the crossword. And teachers, you know this moment. We don't like to talk about it in front of students, really. But that moment where you suddenly go, oh, you look at your case and you've left your folder at home. That moment, you know that moment when I've talked about this before, when, you know, you look at the patient's got much better and you look at your notes and everything's fine, and you look at the bottom and it's like you've forgotten to write down the prescription. You know, their sight came back, they got out of their wheelchair, and you've got to make that nervous phone call to John Morgan or somebody there and say, John, you know that, well, you know, what did you give me? You know, a cold ice dribbles down your spine. It's that feeling. And that's what happened. All my notes are gone. Syphilinum, syphilitic miasm, half a day at a particularly difficult group. And as luck would have it, I carried on reading the Kilburn Times, and I must read it to you. I was looking in the job section, of course, you know, because I've had enough. And here it is. Oh, I don't know how you cope with all this. In the personal section, £50 reward for missing dog. White Scottish Terrier, one leg and some teeth missing, blind in one eye. Not very compassionate, you lot, are you? It's like answers to the name, oh, recently castrated, I forgot that. Answers to the name of Lucky. Now, what's the point in me telling you that? Nothing, really. I'm just winging it and sort of... the point is how you prepare and all this stuff we do in teaching. And the way we're going now with colleges, getting the standards sorted out, and we're now getting new technology and all this kind of stuff, and assessments and degree status. Something happens in teaching which is totally different. I hope to God I don't use my speech really very much today, and it's not the same. Some kind of magic quality happens. A story comes along. An incident comes along. A moment. An energy takes place. And it's very difficult. We must be careful, whatever we do, I think, not to lose that. You know, here, you call this gear, I mean, all this old that have been doing it for 20 years, this is what we had for teaching materia medica. Kent. Dry, dusty, misogynistic, racist, you know, oh look, a few more bubonic plague spores on page 98 here. Crushed cockroach on page 20, page 27 comes after 351. That's what we had, didn't we, Dave? And somehow we have to look at this stuff and sell it to students, give them a sense of energy, give them a sense of what enlivenment about what we do. It's very important as a profession for me. Never mind the materia medica, whatever I teach, it's very important to empower. Have we got that?
The box needs moving, the sophisticated box.
Oh, I'll do it, don't worry, you know. Any other furniture you want moved? It's marvellous, isn't it? Marvellous, this technology, isn't it? It's like, so, you know, it can be a very, very kind of dry subject, homeopathy. And I kind of think, yeah, this is what I like. This is actually, that's my kind of homeopathy teaching. That's the kind of materia medica I like to teach. Isn't that lovely? That's John Clark, How to Practice Homeopathy, Kinds and Degrees of Similarities. Have you got the top bit? Shall we have a coffee break, everyone?
What do you want?
Just a little bit. Yeah, look at that. I love giving this kind of stuff to my students, you know, saying, you know, I don't really go for the simillimum stuff. I don't go for right remedies. I know my practice is based on failure, essentially, because if I got everybody better, they wouldn't come back. It's always partial cure. You think you've given the simillimum, and then some guy like, you know, Jeremy goes and does a remedy which looks even more like the remedy you should have given to the patient in the first place, you know. So it's bringing this sense, getting this sense of life, enlivening in what we do. And I think that's true of teaching, and I think it's true of the profession as a whole. You know, one of the things I do with my students say, look, you know, you're going to go out there. We're in competition. We don't like to use that word, but we're in competition. There are osteopaths out there and acupuncturists. Every street corner. You know, Mrs. Morris goes to the acupuncturist. Oh, Mr. Bridgie, yes, apparently the whole problem is I've got too much fire in my kidneys. That's what it is. It's mild. I always thought so. And I get these lovely little pricks once a week, and I'm feeling so much. And this lovely smelling mocha or whatever it is they use, you know. People love it. They go along once a week. Or you go to the osteopath, you know, you kind of like, you're going like that. The never does anything. He just has a little tape go, and you go, oh. And you get told one leg's shorter than the other. You go, oh, I always knew that. Why didn't my homeopath didn't spot that, you know. He didn't say that. No, you go to the homeopath and what do you get? Have you got syphilis? Have you got gonorrhea? Or were you a lucky one and just had scabies which were suppressed about the What sort of cheese do you like? Emmentaler, Danish blue, cheddar? Tell me about yourself. It's kind of, you know, when we see people once a month, we need to get this sense, for me, of where patients are at. That's really where I come from. And, you know, I am only as good as my patient. I know much less than my patients. How do patients perceive what I do? How do students perceive materia medica? How do we make it so that I actually provide what patients want? Because, you know, sometimes I hear, particularly students being a bit contemptuous about patients, as if somehow we're a little bit more evolved than they are, and that we know what we're doing. You know, we give a pill, there's nothing in it. We don't tell them what the name is. I try to, in my teaching, to